Hello and welcome to the Snyder ISD Podcast. We want to give our school community a closer look into the people, programs, and priorities that are shaping our schools. My name is Valerie Morris. I'm the Director of Communications here in the district, and I'm also a proud Tiger parent. My hope is to help our community better understand the thoughtful, often behind the scenes work that happens each day in our district. Today's conversation centers around leadership, listening, and direction. And our guest today is Dr. Jessica Gore, who is our interim superintendent for Snyder ISD. And Dr. Gore has recently shared her 90-day plan and is currently working through it with the Board of Trustees and the district. This outlines priorities around academics, staff support, and community engagement. And today we're going to bring the conversation to the community and inviting you into the why behind the work. So welcome, Dr. Gore. We're glad you're with us.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
So for those of you that may not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to Snyder ISD?
Absolutely. So I am from Abilene, Texas, so just right down the road. I went to Abilene High for high school, and then I went to Abilene Christian University for college and started out teaching in Abilene at two different elementary schools there. And I decided to pursue law school. So my professional career moved me with law school to Houston, Texas. And I served in a few districts there, all big 6A districts. And when my father passed away in 2017, I decided I had let my career come first instead of my family. And so I kind of put the brakes on my career. I moved back home to Abilene, served as assistant principal at Abilene High, the high school I went to. And then I met my husband. So he went to Wiley outside of Abilene. We got reconnected and he was in the oil field in Midland. And so my professional career and personal life took me out to Midland. And why Snyder? I'll tell you, Snyder became quickly an option for our family when we had kids. The second we had kids, we realized we were working a lot. In the oil field and in a large 6A district in Midland and in Odessa. And we decided that just wasn't how we wanted to raise our kids. And so the values that Snyder possessed were important to us. And then second to that, being close to family. Both of our sets of parents are in Abilene. And so we really value being close to people that believe similar things that we do, but also having help from family with our 4-year-old and our 2-year-old kid. And then outside of that, the work that I love is school improvement. It's all I've ever done in my professional experiences. And I know that is something that Snyder ISD prioritizes and that Scurry County expects us to do. And so all three of those made a perfect storm for Snyder ISD to be a great fit for my family.
So tell me, what personally motivates you in this work? Especially we're in a time of transition. What drives you every day when you come into Snyder ISD?
So this is cliche, but the kids. My daughter is a pre-K student here in Snyder ISD, and when I make a decision, I think about all 2,200 kids are someone's son, daughter, granddaughter, nephew. And so this is so much more than about work. This is so much more than a paycheck. It's so much more than a title. It's so much more than a position. It's about a calling, and that I got into education to serve kids that needed role models, to serve kids that maybe didn't have a home life like I did growing up, and to truly change what they believe is possible for their futures. And so when I make hard decisions, I think about Brady Lynn Gore. And would this be a teacher I would want her with? Would this be a teacher I want Callahan Gore to eventually have? And so to me, it's more than a hire. To me, it's more than closing school for winter weather. It's about what is safe for all children and what is best for all kids.
So you've emphasized that trust and partnership with the board of trustees and the community is important. Why is that relationship so important to the stability and success of a school district?
So I view the board, the 7 members on the board, plus me as a team of 8. And for that team of 8, if there is chaos in the boardroom, there often is chaos in the classroom. Even though everything we do in the boardroom, teachers don't always see or feel, it in some way, indirectly or directly, affects what our kids see and our teachers see and our community feels. And so my number one priority as interim superintendent is to make sure the team of 8 is super, super strong. And I would relate it like a marriage. When you and your spouse are aligned, you have the same vision, you're working towards the same goals, it only benefits your kids. It only benefits those that you love. And I would say the same thing is true for a team of 8. Not saying that we're like in a marriage or anything, but if I were to relate that, that's probably the closest thing I can say, that our goals and vision and relationship and continuity is felt by all. Whether your kids go to Snyder schools or not, you know if the board and superintendent are on the same page. And not that we're always going to vote the same, and not that we're always going to agree on sticky or hard issues. It's not about the vote. It's about the reason behind the decision. It's about belief in the system and the organization and all of us rowing in one direction. And so that's why you'll see trust and continuity and relationships over and over and over, not only in my entry plan, but in our social media post. When I'm out on campuses, it's about visibility. When I'm out on campuses, it's about availability to answer hard questions. When I'm out in the community, it's about parents being able to come up to me and say, "Tell me about that new seventh grade reading teacher." I want to be a visible, friendly face that people see, but also a resource or an asset if things are challenging.
And you may have just answered my next question, but I want to dig just a little bit deeper because we talked a little bit about trust, visibility, stability, and those things being important to you. But tell me, why do those things matter to our families and our students?
I mean, research shows that stability and predictability are essential for kids. And so from birth on, schedules matter. From birth on, knowing or having a runway to prepare for hard things is just part of life. And so I view that as our job in a K-12 organization. And we model that behavior. And so if there is instability with teachers, then kids feel the same thing in the classroom. If there are quick decisions or rash decisions or decisions made without input or thought, then kids feel that and families feel that. And so the more that I can model, the more that I can expect, the more that I can deliver stability and visibility and trust and relationships, it only helps the organization because all of those come before academics. Because if there is mistrust or distrust or a broken relationship, that always affects best practice.
So you mentioned input, and that's something that I want to hit on as well. During the first 30 days, you plan to spend a lot of time listening to trustees, staff, principals, community leaders. Tell me about the input you're receiving. What themes are beginning to surface so far?
So I'm wrapping up first 30 days. In fact, last night I talked to the board about days 31 through 60. And really, there was no agenda on my end other than I'm Jessica Gore. Here's my cell phone number. I'm excited to serve in this position in Snyder ISD, and it's really important to me that we're great partners. Like that's how I've been starting the meetings with the hospital and surrounding school districts and chamber and every entity that I could think of. I would say a theme that is emerging is the value in a great relationship with any external partner, whether it is police, whether it's a business, whether it's DCOS, people want to work with the school district and they want to work well with the school district. And I'll tell you why. A great school is a great community. And the opposite is true. A weak school is a weak community. And so Snyder ISD has a lot of work to do to make sure that we continue to be a great school. We have a lot of great systems and wonderful people in place, but we're not done. The work is absolutely not done. It's just getting started as far as I'm concerned. And so what that means for our community is it's important for them to see that I'm a humble leader and that I want to fix things if there have been wounds or issues in the past, that I want to resolve those and move forward. If there have been broken relationships or trust broken, or anything that the district has accidentally done, my job is to turn the chapter to the next page and make sure that we continue to be a great partner and great team. And so I would say that's the first theme. A second theme that I continue to see, and it's not necessarily being directly stated, but I'll tell you that our schools want to have safe schools and they want kids to learn. And until all parents, and not some, not majority, until all parents believe that their kids are safe, Snyder ISD has work to do. Until every kid is growing, until every kid is meeting their goals, then academically we also have work to do. And so I would say those are the three themes that I have seen so far in the meetings I've had with community members across the county.
Your work that you outlined in your strategic plan is really grounded in three strategic pillars. And that's also reflected in the district's 3-year strategic plan that is available on our website. If anybody wants to go take a look at it, I will drop a link in the comments as well. But it's based on academic experience, instructional capacity, and talent development. What do those look like in real life? Not just on paper, but how do you bring that to real life here in the district and in our community?
So I think what's important is the underlying current of all three of those is relationships and trust. It doesn't matter what I know if people don't know that I care. And so that is number one. That's true in the classroom. That's true as a parent. That's true as a community member. So that's number one. And so that's why my first 30 days is not about like, how do we expand programs or how do we offer AP classes or what are we going to do to turn around the junior high? Like, yeah, of course, those things have to happen too. And they are simultaneously with relationship building and trust building with our community. And so that's not written explicitly in the strategic plan, but I'll give you a little nugget, a little secret nugget that matters more to me, and that comes first. Second to that would be academic experience. We are a school district that is supposed to make sure that kids have a great experience every day in every classroom with every teacher. And so when our kids come to schools, there are certain things that parents expect. And so that first pillar talks really about how are teachers going to make sure they deliver that, and how are we going to support teachers to make sure they're successful in those metrics. The second one is instructional capacity building, and that really outlines the proactive side of great teaching. And so that looks like great tier one instruction and curriculum in the classrooms with HQIM and Bluebonnet. That looks like professional learning communities and teachers having time to work together and plan what's going to happen next week and what's going to happen the next week. And, oh, we taught that and it didn't go well. What are we going to do to remediate that? Is really that second pillar. And then the third pillar is talent development. And I would say that's a bookend. That is on the front end and that's on the back end of an ecosystem of public education. That if you don't have great teachers, it doesn't matter what curriculum you have. If you don't have great teachers, if you don't have great principals, it doesn't matter that your master schedule is the most beautiful thing in the world. The adults in our building matter so, so, so much. And so talent development is really about making sure we have a pipeline or a bench of people always ready and supported to maybe take that next promotion, to be ready to fill an AP spot or a principal spot, and to make sure that teachers always have the support they need in the classroom.
And before you move on, just for the non-school people in the room or on the podcast, define for me HQIM and Tier 1 instruction real quick for our families.
Absolutely. So my husband would ask the same thing. We say acronyms at home and he's like, I have no clue what you're saying. Okay, so HQIM is high quality instructional materials. And that is from the state around what they expect for grade level material. And so that is something that Snyder ISD is in year 4 of adopting. That happened before I joined the district. And I feel very confident it will eventually be a state required curriculum. We are just ahead of the game in Snyder ISD with that resource. And then tier 1 is the lesson that teachers give every day. So if I am an English 1 teacher, my tier 1 lesson are the objectives that I hope or expect my kids to master after that lesson.
Okay. And I'm assuming there are different tiers.
Yes, there are absolutely different tiers, tier 2 and tier 3 for enrichment and intervention or support for kids, always.
So community engagement, it's a major part of your entry plan. Tell me, why is it important for schools to stay closely connected to local organizations, business, and civic partners, but also to our families? That's something I've seen you make a real effort to push as well.
So I view a school district, especially the largest school district in the area, as the heartbeat of the community. And so it is hard to have a school district in a silo and then act as though a community is in a separate silo. They are not. Like, we must be one and the same. And I think that's an area that Snyder can improve on right now is making sure not only that we own when or if we mess up, but also that we want to do better and we want other people's ideas and support to do so. We cannot function independently as a public school system in Snyder ISD or in Scurry County. And so we need partners' help. We need community support. We want community support. We need business support. I view this as a partnership, a two-way street, always. So I think that's number one. I think layer number two is as kids get older, often in public school, parents are less involved. That's partially because kids want them to be less involved. But I would say we need parents just as involved. I just finished a meeting with Valerie Morris, the high school principal, and I meet with principals every other week in a one-to-one meeting. And community, that's because principals are the second most impactful factor for student success. Teachers are first and principals are second. And so I spend so much of my time each week in classrooms and coaching principals because they are essential in your child's success. But I just finished a meeting with Aleda Juarez at the high school, and I was talking to her about academic planning, which sophomores and juniors are working on right now with counselors. And my first question is, how have parents been involved in this process? And if we don't already have a pretty strong system to say, hey, Jessica, did you know that your child is picking video gaming as their career path? Like, is that something you and your family support? Is that a lucrative career path that you're really hoping your daughter moves on? I think we're missing the mark. And so, yes, kids want you less involved parents, but I can tell you as a school, a shift that you're about to see is we need you just as involved as kindergarten drop off. Maybe not like at lunch every Friday, but we need you involved in their academic experience because it matters so much for their futures. If you own a company and they're going to be taking over that, we need to get them ready in high school. If you want your child or your child wants to go to the oil field, we can get them ready right now in high school. If you are college, period, no questions, we need to get them ready in high school. There's so much that we can do together as a family to make sure your kid is successful. And so I would say parents and community engagement will always be important to me, but are especially important in the position I am now in.
Well, this podcast is one of several new ways that we are trying to communicate. Tell me about some other ways that we're reaching out and trying to start new conversations with our community that also maybe sometimes just a traditional newsletter cannot accomplish.
Sure. So the first one that comes to mind is our Community Advisory Council. We just got that approved by the board in our last board meeting, and the email actually went out this morning to everyone that applied. We are excluding no one. So if you applied within the window, then you received an email today from me to sit on that committee. And that's not necessarily a decision-making committee, but it's an input committee. And I think it's so important as the heartbeat of the community to hear what the community believes to be true. And so for me as a leader, it's not just talking to teachers. It's not just talking to Snyder parents. It's not just talking to our circle of friends that my daughter does ballet with, but it's talking to WTC folks. It's talking to hospital people. It's talking to whoever wants to give input in a constructive way and work towards solutions. That's what that first body of partnerships is going to look like. The second committee that we have just launched is our Student Advisory Council. And I'll tell you what, if you want to know what you are great at or what you're really bad at, ask kids. They'll tell you. You'll walk into school and they'll be like, oh, you look so tired. So I have launched a student advisory committee to ask kids, like, what's going well in Snyder ISD? What do you think we should change? And I know they're going to say things like no homework or no test. And the goal from them is to talk about the why behind some of the things we do in school that they may not agree with, but we can't change, but also get some ideas about how can we meet in the middle? If it's required by the state, or if this is to prepare you for real world, what are some ideas you have maybe that are different or that we can better do some of the practices we're currently executing in the district? So those two come to mind first. And then there's lots of others. Of course, PTO organizations at our schools, and the high school officially launched a PTO this year as well. So parents, if you want to get involved in that way, that's another avenue for you to stay close to your kids and make sure you can always have eyes on them. Another one is DEIC, and this is our District Education Improvement Committee. This meets about once a month, sometimes once a 6 weeks. And that's another body of people that has campus reps, a business rep, a parent rep, where we talk about big topics that are coming up in the district that we need to get input on, like calendars, but also big topics in the district like Minga and Stop It and different systems we've put in place that we hope are working, but we want to check in and make sure they're actually going well. Another one that comes to mind is Facilities Assessment Committee. We had a failed bond in this last cycle, and we believe there's a lot of things that we can do better in our bond package. But before we even say the word bond again, it's about trust building in our community. And we are launching a second Facilities Assessment Committee. And this is really based on the survey feedback we got that was sent out about a month or so ago. Anyone that served on the prior Facilities Assessment Committee, as well as anyone that said they want to serve on this next one, or gave your name as a recommendation for a great resource to serve. So if you get an email and you're like, actually, I don't want to do that, that means someone believes you could be a great resource for that. So that's another avenue that we are continuing. And another one, since I've joined the role as interim, is meeting with our employees of the month. Oftentimes, I am forward facing with principals and assistant principals, and I spend lots of time with department chairs and our PLC leads. But an added layer of teachers that are amazing are our employees of the month. And so they're usually spread out pretty equally, one from each school or one from each category or one from each department. But that's another body of people I wanted to tap into and say, like, you were nominated, you were popular this month from your school. Why? Like, what are you doing well? What are some things that we can improve? And I can tell you, I've had 2 of those meetings so far with employees of the month, and they've been brutally honest too. They've said, why do you pay bus drivers different to drive a field trip versus a route? That doesn't make sense. So guess what? At our last board meeting, we are going to propose that change for approval at the next one. Another suggestion that I've heard is communication, that there's a breakdown after principal meeting to teachers. Well, let me fix that. Let me send a recap to principals after principal meeting, and all they have to do is forward it out to their staff. And so my job is not necessarily always to give an answer when there's an issue, but it's to hear ideas. And then if they can't come up with ideas, or if they come up with some, but they're not feasible, to work together towards a solution.
Tell me, what do you hope that our community feels or better understands about the direction of Snyder ISD as a result of all of this work, engagement, and efforts that we're making right now?
Ooh, I think the first thing that comes to mind is belief. Like, we need the community to rally around Snyder ISD and believe that it's possible. Because I'll tell you what kids see and what kids say, and I hear this all the time in classrooms. The bond failed because the community doesn't believe we deserve it. Now, I don't believe that's actually true, but that's the kids' perspective. Another perspective is, well, you don't offer this because the community doesn't think we need it, even though it's something we like. For example, AI, like, that is blowing up in public schools. That's blowing up in all of our industries, but that's not a current program or resource that we offer at the high school. And so what kids want to do versus what we actually offer, the belief often is the community doesn't think we deserve it. And so I think that's important. Number one, teachers and principals and community and business owners and residents of Scurry County, we all have to believe that our kids can do it. That there actually is no ceiling on a Snyder ISD child. I believe that as a mom and my own children, and I know you guys do too, but I would encourage the community to think through how we speak about each other, to think through things we say that happened 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And even if it's recent, then bring it to our attention so that we can change the narrative. So I think belief was the first word that comes to mind for me. Another word that comes to mind about next steps for our district is success. Like, we eventually know as a leader in the district that success has to happen. And we feel the pressure. We feel the urgency. It's not emergency, but we feel the urgency, and we are working strategically to make sure kids grow, to make sure the junior high has a better academic rating, and that our district carries a letter grade that we are all proud of. And I know one test on one day is not a fair snapshot of all of our wonderful kids, but it's currently how our system is set up. And so whether we like it or not, it's our current reality. And the letter grade associated with Snyder ISD is important. It's important for businesses, it's important for families, and it's mostly important for our kids. And so belief comes to mind, Valerie, as number one, and then we actually need academic success, number two.
Is there anything else that you want to leave our community with in our last few minutes of this podcast?
Oh, the only thing I would like to say is please, please, please reach out to us if there is something we can do better. All of us in every one of these seats, from principal to custodian to teacher to interim superintendent, we all are here because we believe in children and we want to work in Snyder ISD. And so if there is ever something that you can't sleep at night because you know something or you think you know something or you've heard something, I would always, always, always encourage you to reach out because all of us are here doing our absolute best every single day because we love your kids. And so when we mess up, because we do, we're in the people business and it's hard to keep thousands of people happy. It's not about necessarily being happy, but it's about always doing right for kids. And so if there's ever someone in our district or someone in our community that I can reach out to or that I can build a bridge with or that I can apologize to, I want that invitation to always be open.
That's great. And I will leave contact information as well below so that you know how to get to us in multiple formats at any time, day or night. Dr. Gore, thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspective and to walk with us through the thinking behind your first 90 days in the district in this interim superintendent role. Leadership during transition really requires clarity, listening, trust, and we appreciate the steady approach that you're taking to see us through this time period. And as we continue, our goal is to keep these conversations open and accessible to you. So we want to share how decisions are made, why certain decisions were made, and how our community plays a role in really shaping the future of Snyder ISD. So if there's any topics that you would like us to explore in future episodes, please reach out and share your ideas. We appreciate you joining us. Have a great day.